The rookie has been making the same mistake for years, and somehow, episode 12 finally fixed it. You know those episodes, the moment the documentary crew shows up and you instantly feel like skipping. Because let's be honest, for a lot of fans, these episodes became automatic skips. Not because the idea is bad, but because the execution felt like the show suddenly turned into a low-budget YouTube crime special. And that's weird, because this is the same show with shootouts, undercover ops, and Nolan surviving things he absolutely should not survive. But then, episode 12 happened, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a gimmick. It actually felt like the rookie again. Here's the real issue. The documentary episodes weren't just experiments. They became a dumping ground. Like, oh, we have a complex storyline? Yeah, just wrap it up in interviews and call it a day. Case in point, Dim and Juicy, the doppelganger storyline. This could have been chaotic, funny, and intense in real time. Instead, we got it summarized like a PowerPoint presentation. Same with Aaron's Patrick case, which had actual emotional weight. And they resolved it through cutaway interviews. No tension, no payoff, just, yeah, so this happened. And don't even get me started on the logic issues. Lucy Chen, an undercover officer, being the face of a viral documentary? That's not just risky, that's career suicide. Like, at that point, just hand the criminals your resume too. Let's actually run through them real quick, because yeah, there's a pattern. True Crime Episode 1. Cool concept, fresh idea, but already felt slightly off. Rating 3-star.
This was definitely the craziest case I have ever worked.
It started off like any other day, and then
the end of the world.
Dim and Juicy documentary. Wasted potential. This should not have been summarized. Rating 2-star.
What's with all the cameras?
They're filming a documentary.
2 cops arrest 2 criminals.
And then you and Sergeant Bradford went undercover.
Yes.
Aaron's Patrick case episode. Important story, weak delivery. Rating 2.5-star. Henry's relationship drama, Nolan's son. Bro got broken up with out of nowhere, like it was a side note in a podcast. That needed actual screen time. Rating 2-star.
Decided to make a documentary about Westview.
How can one hospital spawn 2 serial killers?
At this point, it genuinely felt like if a storyline deserved less effort, it got turned into a documentary. Now here's the funny part. Even in these weaker episodes, people still watched. Why? Because of characters like Tim Bradford and Lucy Chen. There's this weird irony. Lucy, who absolutely should not be on camera, low-key enjoys it. Meanwhile, Tim, man treats the camera like it personally offended him.
Have either of you ever written one?
God, no.
It was for a class.
Every interview feels like he's 2 seconds away from saying, "Turn that thing off before I arrest you." That dynamic? That's what carried these episodes. Not the format, not the storytelling, just character chemistry doing damage control. Then Season 8, Episode 12, Spy Games happens, and for the first time, this format actually feels intentional. Not lazy, not rushed, intentional. This episode still uses interviews, but now it's framed like everyone's giving statements around a court case. So instead of feeling like random cutaways, it actually feels like part of the world. And more importantly, they finally stopped using interviews as a replacement for storytelling. Because here, we're not just hearing what happened, we're actually watching it unfold. Now, don't get it twisted, they still tried to do their classic move, dumping a lot into one episode. Zuzu's storyline getting wrapped up, Wesley Evers and Monica's past dynamic, a whole larger criminal operation involving government, FBI-level stakes, even bits of Nolan and Bailey's relationship. Like, that's a lot. This could have easily turned into another mess, but this time, it worked. And the reason is simple: pacing. This episode moves fast, but never feels rushed. Every scene actually breathes. Nothing feels like it was skipped, even when a lot is happening. Second, we already know the characters. This is huge. One of the biggest problems with earlier documentary episodes, especially something like Thorsen's case, was that they kept throwing in new characters and expecting us to care instantly. Like, bro, I don't even know who this guy is. Why is he getting a full interview segment? But in episode 12, we're dealing with people we already understand. So when they talk, it actually means something. And finally, this episode just feels different. There's a unique rhythm to it, the way interviews and real-time scenes blend together. It doesn't feel like a recap anymore. It feels like we're watching a story unfold from multiple perspectives at once, almost like a controlled chaos version of The Rookie. So yeah, they did try to dump storylines again, but this time they actually knew how to handle it. So here's the lesson. The documentary format was never the problem. It's actually a really cool idea. But when you use it to skip storytelling instead of enhance it, that's when it breaks everything. Episode 12 proves something important. If you respect the story, the format can work. If you don't, it just feels like filler with better lighting. So now the question is, did The Rookie finally fix its worst habit, or was episode 12 just a one-time miracle?
Now, don't get me wrong, Season 8, Episode 12 isn't perfect by any means. They still tried to pack a lot in, but this time, the format actually worked. And honestly, that's a big step in the right direction. What do you think? Did this episode fix the documentary problem, or is this just a one-time thing? Let's talk in the comments. And if you're into breakdowns, reviews, and updates on movies and series, make sure you're subscribed.